The Talkboy frenzy. Did you have one?
All right, let's talk about one of the wildest stories from the 90s. We're going deep on the Talkboy. And this thing, it wasn't just a toy. It was a gadget that started its life as a movie prop, something totally fake, and then, almost by accident, it set off one of the biggest and most chaotic toy crazes of the entire decade. Oh yeah, you know that line. If hearing that instantly transports you back to the Plaza Hotel, it's because that's Kevin McAllister using his slick little recorder to pull a fast one on the adults in Home Alone 2. And that device, the Talkboy, became this symbol, the must-have gadget that basically promised every kid they could be that clever too. But here's the thing, its journey from the movie screen to actual store shelves was, well, it was a total mess. So how on earth did this prop, a device literally invented for a film, never meant to be a real product, become this massive cultural phenomenon that sent parents all over the country into a complete and utter panic? So let's rewind all the way to the beginning. The Talkboy wasn't some existing toy that a movie decided to feature. Nope, it was pure Hollywood magic, dreamed up and built from scratch just to be the coolest kid gadget you'd ever seen on screen. What's really nuts about this is just how fast it all happened. The writer, the legendary John Hughes, he needed this cool kind of futuristic-looking device for Kevin, so he goes to Tiger Electronics. And get this, in just 3 weeks they designed and built the prop. That's it. It had one single job, be the tool that lets a kid outsmart every grown-up in the room. Okay, so the movie is a monster hit. Logically, you'd think the toy would just fly off the shelves when it came out in 1992, right? Haha. Wrong. Not even close. The first version was a massive, kind of embarrassing flop. And here is the fatal flaw. The one thing that killed it. The toy you could actually buy was missing the one feature that made it magical in the movie. The 1992 Talkboy couldn't change the speed of your voice. It was basically just a boring old cassette recorder. It completely failed to deliver on the fantasy of becoming Kevin McAllister, and so it just sat there, collecting dust on store shelves. But the story doesn't end there, not by a long shot. A year later, in 1993, a bunch of totally separate events lined up perfectly to create this perfect storm, and it transformed this forgotten toy into the absolute center of a national obsession. So let's look at how this all came together. First, in April, Tiger quietly releases the deluxe Talkboy, which finally has the voice-changing feature. Then, in July, the movie comes out on VHS. You have to remember, this was the 90s equivalent of dropping a 2-hour interactive commercial for the toy right into millions of living rooms. Throw in a few clever brand deals, and by December, you have a full-blown consumer meltdown on your hands. And this number just shows you the insane scale we're talking about. 10 million. That's how many copies of the Home Alone 2 VHS were sold by the holidays. And inside every single one of those tapes was an ad for the now working, now magical deluxe Talkboy. The demand wasn't just growing, it was about to absolutely explode. What happened next was just pure, uncut chaos. You see, retailers, having been burned so badly the year before, had ordered almost none of them. They were completely, totally unprepared for the tidal wave of demand that was about to hit. And this chart really puts it into perspective. Tiger Electronics figured the real demand was for about 2 million of these things. But because stores had been so cautious, they were only able to sell a few 100,000. That gap between what people wanted and what was available wasn't just a gap, it was a chasm. And believe me, the public let them know how desperate they were. Tiger Electronics was getting over 500 calls a day from frantic parents, all of them on the exact same mission: find a Talkboy before Christmas morning. The stories that came out of those calls are just wild. They show you the lengths people would go to. This wasn't just about getting a toy, it was about fulfilling a sacred Christmas promise. One caller tried 3 different times, finally claiming their child had a brain tumor and this was the only thing they wanted. And this mania, it hit every level of society. It wasn't just regular parents. One caller, claiming to work for Keith Richards of the Rolling Stones, said the rock star himself needed 4 of them. I mean, think about the absurdity of that moment. A global rock icon was supposedly hunting for the exact same impossible-to-find plastic toy as everyone else. The entire system was just in complete overdrive. Tiger was running its factories in Hong Kong 24/7 and literally airlifting boxes of toys to the US to try and keep up. The situation got so out of control that they had to pull their own TV commercials after Thanksgiving. They just couldn't, in good conscience, keep advertising a product that was basically a ghost.
So the Talkboy craze of '93, it wasn't just a flash in the pan. It was a culture-defining moment that absolutely cemented this toy's place in history. It didn't just fade away after Christmas, it became a full-fledged brand.
And yeah, they cashed in. Big time. They rolled out a whole line of gadgets. There was the pink deluxe Talk Girl, for a different market. There was a surprisingly futuristic recording pen, walkie-talkies, they even made a watch. The Talkboy name didn't just mean one toy anymore, it was the go-to brand for cool, spy tech gadgets for kids.
And yet, its origin was never really forgotten. Years later, Thrillist ranked the Talkboy as one of the greatest movie props ever made. And that's the perfect tribute, really. A testament to its completely improbable journey from a fictional gadget to a very, very real and very chaotic cultural phenomenon.
It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? The Talkboy's success was this perfect accidental storm of movie magic and real-world timing. And it makes you think, what's a modern product? Maybe something you own right now that became a massive hit completely and totally by surprise.